You guys have heard me talk about my dad before. He was very racist. I've never told this story in a video. I've mentioned it on podcasts before, but I've never made a video and told the story. My mother, seen here, was 16 years old when I was born. My dad was 21. They'd been together since she was 14. So he was 14, or I'm sorry, she was 14. He was 19 when they got together.
This is going to be an interesting one, and I urge you to stick around to the end of the video. This man came out to give a story about how his mom and his dad, they got together, they had him, and of course you heard him talking about the father's age. The dad was already an adult, why he had something to do with the mom, who was still a teenager at the time, and they had this man you're seeing on the screen. And at the end of the day, the relationship didn't work because the dad was abusive to the mom and also abusive to him, and the relationship ended. The mom ended up getting married to a black man, and of course the whole thing didn't go well down with his dad. So we are going to be hearing from him. Let's hear the full story from him. And if you're new to this space, welcome to the channel. Kindly subscribe, like the video, share, leave your thoughts in the comment section, and let us get right into it.
I've never told this story in a video. I've mentioned it on podcasts before, but I've never made a video and told the story. My mother, seen here, was 16 years old when I was born. My dad was 21. They'd been together since she was 14. So he was 14, or I'm sorry, she was 14. He was 19 when they got together. You guys have heard me talk about my dad before. He was very, my mother will tell you the same. And my mother, being very young and uneducated, she just kind of went along with whatever my dad did. And he was also abusive. My mother was abused. And I talked to her before I made this video to make sure that she's okay with me telling that part of her story.
I like the fact that this man was respectful enough to ask the mom if he could share her own side of the story. And of course, the mom gave him that permission. Fine, he's got his own experience, but his experience cannot be talked about without talking about his mom's experience. So asking for permission from her speaks a lot about him. He must be a very respectful person.
My dad was a domestic abuser and also a child abuser. He abused me as well. That's not the point of this video, though. When I was 3 years old, my mother was 19. She found the courage to leave my dad, which wasn't easy to do. And the divorce was nasty because my dad he's passed away now, a pretty controlling, narcissistic type guy. And shortly after leaving my dad, my mother was in a relationship with another man who was a black man. And my dad being I was raised in the 80s in North Carolina, and my dad was. So her leaving him for a black man was like this big taboo thing. Like, you don't do that. And so when everything went to court, my dad ultimately got custody of me because the judge in the 80s in North Carolina is not giving the child to the woman dating a black man, to the white woman dating a black man, especially when my dad was the one with the career and the income and the money, and my mom had nothing. He had left her with nothing. Fast forward to when I was 10 years old. During those 7 years after the divorce, my dad taught me to hate my mom. He taught me that she was a sinner, that the Bible did not approve of interracial marriages. He showed me in the Bible where the Bible says you can't marry outside your race. And I believed her to be basically of the devil himself. I hated her. When I was 10 years old, I found out that my dad was being taken to court because my mother was trying to get visitation rights. I was terrified. I didn't want to meet this evil woman. She won. She got visitation rights of me. I'll never forget ever to this day. I can still vividly remember where I was, the weather and everything when she picked me up the first time. I was terrified. But I made it my mission, that first visit, that she would never visit me again. I made that my mission, that she would never want to see me after this day. I called her a sinner. I called her children, because she had 3 children with her second husband. Obviously, they were biracial children. And I called her children the N-word. I called her an N-word lover. Now, keep in mind, I'm 10 years old. But this is how I was raised. This is what I believed at age 10. And she told me, you shouldn't think like this or talk like this. And I ignored her. It was like a 2-hour visitation, whatever it was. And then she dropped me back off at my house. And I told my dad, she'll never pick me up again, Dad, I promise you. 2 weeks later, when it was time for her next visitation, I waited in my yard on the Saturday at the time that I was supposed to be there. And I was sure she wouldn't pull up, but she did. She did pull up. I was befuddled. Oh my God, she came back. This time, she took me to her house in a mostly black neighborhood, and a place I had never been. I was raised on the mountain, all white neighborhood, very much. And I was told that black neighborhoods were crime-ridden, filthy areas. Avoid them. So I went to this black neighborhood and I thought, oh my God, oh my God. I went in her house and she said, I want you to meet your brothers and sisters. And they came out and they were so excited to see me because my mom had never told them a bad thing about me. And I wanted to be mean to them because that's how I was raised. But I couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to be mean to them because they were so nice and polite to me. I was not nice to them. I tolerated them in my mind, but I wasn't mean to them. And then every 2 weeks she came and got me. And over the course of time, I built a relationship with my siblings, with her. And I started questioning things like maybe the things my dad told me are not true, because what I see in this neighborhood, what I see in my mom's house, what I see everywhere is not what I was told. And I had a choice to make at the early age of about 11. Do I believe what I was raised, or do I challenge these ideas? And just like my mom had got away from my dad and challenged those ideas and grew and was better, I decided that I too can be better. I started challenging the ideas my dad raised me in. It started a very tumultuous relationship with my dad, as if it wasn't tumultuous to begin with. Again, I was an abused child. I'm trying to keep this video short, so I'm missing a lot of very deep details, but I'm trying to give you the idea. By the time I was 15, I had read books and read the speeches of Dr. King and watched interviews with Malcolm X, and I really started realizing, like, there's a whole nother world out there that I didn't realize. Fred Hampton, Angela Davis, these things really opened my eyes. And I even basically got into a fight with my dad over it when I was 15 and was thrown out of my house. But my deconstruction process had begun, and it has continued for the past, 27 years. I'm 42 now. And it's all thanks to my mom. Just being a mom. Just showing up. And I've never had like the closest relationship with my mom because the story I just told you. But I've been friends with her now for, how old is that? 25 years. And I just want to say thanks for showing up. Thanks for not giving up on me. I may have never challenged my ideas and beliefs and may have been stuck in the same trap that, I was born into, and I wasn't. So, thanks, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
I must say that this man is so lucky. And you might want to ask me why I say that. The reason why I say that is that the mom is still alive for him to make up all the wrong things that must have gone on between them. Because if she was not here again, if she was no longer here, probably she's not alive or something, I'm sure this man must have lived or must be living with those regrets all the days of his life. And from his story, he talked about the dad being an abuser. So, and if there's anything about these guys, is that they always target the people they go for. They always target women that are cool-headed and the ones that they can easily control. For crying out loud, this guy was just 19. He was already 19 when he met this particular lady, and of course 19 is an adult already, so he could easily manipulate this young girl and got her into the whole mess of a thing. So the guy's dad was an abuser, not just to the mom but also to him. So you can imagine all the trauma the dad caused him and his mom. And come to think of it, the fact that the mom went into an interracial relationship, I think it came as a blow to the dad, and he was just jealous about the whole thing. And the man felt the right thing he could do was to use the Bible, the Holy Bible, to manipulate his son, talking about the Bible being against interracial relationship. Of course, there's nowhere in the Bible the Bible talked about or talked against interracial marriages. For crying out loud, the Bible talks about love. The Bible talks about God's wonderful creation. Everyone is wonderful in the sight of God, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your ethnicity. We are all the same in the sight of God. So, how would the Bible have talked about or talked against interracial relationship? Of course, it was all manipulation. And come to think of it, I always say that this thing called R, that R word in capital letter, is something that is being acquired. Nobody was born with it. And the same thing with the word HATE. This is something people acquire. Nobody is born with that, is born with it. People are being taught these things. So the dad actually taught this man to HATE his mom. For crying out loud, that is so diabolical. And the dad taught him also to be the R word. Can you imagine, at that very young age, as young as he was? And luckily for him, he was able to retrace his steps at the age of 10. The dad manipulated him so much that he never wanted to have anything to do with his mom. And this is something that is not good at all. The fact that a relationship ends between a man and a woman, the children do not have any business with that. Children are entitled to custody of both parents depending on what the court comes out with. But using your child against the other partner is not something that should even happen at all. And from everything he said, I can tell you that the mom is such a good woman. He was shocked the day he went to visit the mom, and he saw the way his half siblings, they were so happy to see him. And there was something he said the mom never said anything bad about him. Imagine if the mom had said something bad about him simply because of the treatment she got from his father. But just because she's a good mom, she never for one day spoke bad about her son, because she knew that the actions of the son is not something that he chose to do. It is because of the manipulation from his father. And also the fact that he realized this thing early at the age of 10, he was able to, detect the fact that what my father is teaching me, they were all wrong, they were all false. And between the age of 10 to 11 to 15, he was able to read books and discover that, wow, these things my father is teaching me, these are against humanity. These are things that are against humanity. This man's story might be different, but for some other children, it is not like that. Some children, they do not get to realize or retrace their steps this early. Some people grow up into adults having this resentment, having this bitterness towards the other parent simply because of what the other parent must have told them. And in most cases, these things are not true. Parents should realize that children will never be children. Children are going to grow to become adults, and at this time they can differentiate between what is right and wrong. And if you are that parent always trying to manipulate your children against the other parent, trust me, they are going to grow one day, and once they discover that those things you've been telling them are not something that is good, you've just cost yourself the relationship you've had with that child, because the child would just want to cut off from you and look for that other parent to make things straight. And just like I said earlier on, the mom is such a good woman. Just imagine, she never showed up when both of them had that misunderstanding. He wasn't even expecting the mom to come at all, but when it was time for her to come take him for the time he was supposed to spend with her, she showed up and he was surprised. So the mom never gave up on him. She showed up and she was there for him. Imagine if the mom never had any custody at all, any custody to check on this boy. Trust me, I don't think he would have even be able to build the relationship he has with his mom now. So guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. If this is your experience, you can share with us in the comment section. And if you've watched up to this point, then you are the real MVP. Kindly drop your thoughts in the comment section, like the video, share, and also do not forget to subscribe. Thank you once again, and peace out.